What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Life According to Nikki. I have so much to report on, and I'm so excited. So let's just get into it.
Are we kidding? Oh my gosh, I love that.
I am coming at you live from my new room. I don't know if you can tell. I feel like my brother Robbie in that episode where he was like, do you think your listeners can tell I'm in a nice new house? Okay, you know what, Robbie? I'm sorry for making fun of you because here I am a couple years later and I'm like, can you guys tell? Can you tell the acoustics are different? I'm in a new room and I'm so excited about it. For those keeping track at home, this is miracle, I don't know, like 35 since coming to Australia. So let's just do a quick run back of our most significant moments, the highlight reel, really, of what has transpired since my arrival in Australia. And if this is your first episode ever, hi, welcome. Welcome. I'm Nikki. I'm from Utah. I live in Australia. I'm getting a master's of sexology. I'm celibate. It makes no sense to anybody. No one's even heard of my degree, let alone heard of someone celibate getting my degree. So, I make no sense on paper, hence my Instagram bio. But it's about to make less sense, I'm sure, as I continue talking, but it'll be fun. It'll be like, wow, this girl, what a character, because I am. But in case, again, if you have not been here for this journey, I had like a complete freak out before coming to Australia because I sold everything that I own, literally everything that I own, except for things that would fit in 2 pieces of luggage, to ship here across the world. I sold my car. Like, I can't express to you, when I say everything I own, I mean that. I still think about my cute toaster. It was so cute. I think about my car. What am I gonna do? What am I gonna do when this is all done? Don't know. Don't know. But sold everything and was like, well, hope it all works out for me. I have no way to pay for my college. Once I arrive in Australia, I have no way to pay for my accommodation. It was like very dramatic. I highly recommend going back and listening to those episodes to just be along for the journey. But here we are in the middle of it, and things are working out. Okay, got here to Australia immediately. Got jobs that I needed. Not only did I get a job, I got all of the jobs that were offered at my particular place of residence. And then I also got a job that is not available to anyone. It just happened to be available because the previous person was pregnant and then had to take emergency maternity leave. And I was here being like, hey, I need a job. And I was, of course, making myself well known. So people knew me. And that's how I got the job. And now it's been amazing. And by the time that the person comes back whose job I'm filling in for, it will have been over a year that I'll have that job. Potentially longer because, anyways, there's details that need to be worked out. But their official date that they're planning sort of maybe to come back on is over a year from when they left, which really makes me think about Australia. Just in general, when it comes to people's time off here, it is insane to me, especially coming from the US. Like, the amount of people that I talk to that they're like, yeah, I'm gonna go for 2 months and do a European summer and do this and travel around, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, what? How do you have the time off for that? That's crazy. People be leaving for months, which I get. I mean, it's so far away from everything else. To get here to Australia, yeah, if I was gonna leave, I'd leave for months at a time too, because it's not worth it to fly halfway across the world for 1 week. No, that'd be such a waste of time. You spend 48 hours of it on a plane. Absolutely not. But it does shock me how much time off people get. because the maternity leave I think is like 6 to 8 months or something, and then paid time off on top of that, vacation days. It's crazy. It's crazy. It's great. But also, I wonder how like all of these workplaces are keeping up when half your employees take off for months at a time. It makes no sense. Okay, anyways, moving on. So, got a job and then cried for a second about like being isolated here in Perth because there's literally no way to get around unless you have a car. It's like being in the US. And then 5 days later, or 3 days, I don't know, it was like within 7 days of me just crying and just kind of having a tough night. It was just having a tough time, just a tough night. And then, did some deep breathing, drew upon my years of therapy and like calmed myself down, self-soothed. I was okay, and I was like radically accepting the circumstances I was in. But God heard me. They heard me. And then a few days later, I got access to a car for free because an angel by the name of Rebecca came along and was like, hey, I need someone to drive my car around and keep track of my car while I go work on a farm for free. I mean, twist my arm, Rebecca. It's just from the States, too. Anyways, so great, so fabulous. I really want her on my pod when she comes back, when I return her car to her. It's been amazing, though. Having this car has quite literally changed my life and my quality of life here in Perth. I can't express to you how important it is. It is like the US. If you are from the US, you'll get it. It is impossible to be a citizen of some states in the US, especially the one I'm from, Utah. You cannot live in Utah without a car. Like, it is going to be the worst thing that you ever do if you go to Utah without a car. But it is not set up for public transportation. Like, you cannot get anywhere. What will take you 5 minutes by car can take you an hour by bus. And that's what it's like here. It's just a nightmare. Yes, they do have buses, but do you know how much more time that takes? So then you just end up taking Uber, but I'm broke. I can't just pay for Uber all the time. So then I end up just staying here, and that's why I was crying. Because I was like, I feel like Rapunzel. I'm locked up in a tower. I sold everything to be locked up and have no life when I used to have an amazing life and so many friends and a community. And granted, I have all that here. I was just having a tough time. But all good. Fixed. God's got me. So anyways, got a car. And then, I was very happy with the room that I was in. It was small, but it had everything that I needed. But there was like one issue that I was like, I could really use blah, blah, blah. My bed situation was honestly the biggest one for me. Whoa, text. My sound is never on for my text. What am I doing? Okay, perfect. Sorry, I'm someone's emergency contact. They were asking. Yeah, that doesn't matter. Where was I? My bed. So it was like a twin bed, but I had to get padding and stuff for my back. As most of you should know, because you're frequent listeners, right? I have major back problems, nerve damage in both my legs. For those of you that are new here, hi, my name is Nikki. I'm from Utah. And I once upon a time, 6 years ago, had a spinal tumor, cut off the nerves to my legs, became fully disabled. It was like super dramatic. But guess what? I lived. And you would never know. It's an invisible disability. Yes, I am disabled. Okay, change that definition of what disability looks like to you, because psych, I am disabled. 70% of people who have disabilities, they're actually invisible. So fun fact for you. Wrote a paper on that in my undergrad. Okay, moving on. The bed. The bed situation. It was too small for all of the things that I have and require for my comfort, really for my pain relief. That's what it is. So anyways, I was chatting it up with the dean of this beautiful place, and I was like, hey, So the bed. Is there any bed? Because I knew that there were different bedroom options that had bigger beds. And I was like, yeah, probably not going to be able to get it until next year, which isn't a problem, blah, blah, blah. And my dear sweet friend Ravi, who I've mentioned before in the pod, RIP, miss you. He didn't die. He just left to go back home because he finished his PhD at 27 years old, no less. PhD completed. Are we kidding? In astrophysics. Astrophysics. Jeez Louise, Ravi. I want him on the pod as well. He made me feel so intelligent. He's such an incredible teacher. Shout out to Ravi. I'll have him on sometime soon. Although it would have been much more convenient to have him on while we were actually living in the same place. But you know what? It's going to be a fun little catch up over Zoom. Well, anyways, Ravi had one of the 5 really fancy apartments in this building. There's 400 people that live here. There are 5 apartments that are like not like the other rooms. And they have a separate bedroom and they have a living room space and they're so big and they're so nice. And yeah, I got one. I got his. I'm living where he lived. And it's fabulous. And part of me kind of worries like, I really shouldn't be giving that much detail about like where I'm living. But then I remember like most of my audience is in the States, so like you wouldn't know. And also the likelihood of me having a stalker is quite low. Never 0, but low. Low enough for me to feel like I can leave all this in. Thank you so much for being here while I like think that out loud. I'm like, I don't want to give away too many details, but also like, is it really that serious? Like, it's not like I'm some big fat deal. Maybe one day when this podcast absolutely explodes, as we all know it will, I'm gonna someone mark this down for my future editor to come back in and edit this particular section out because, you know, we don't want people knowing where I am. That would be weird. But anyways, I got this room. And honestly, I can't tell you how much my quality of life has increased in the last week since being here. I am overjoyed. I'm spilling over. I'm so happy. I'm so happy. You want to know why? It's not just because it's a bigger room. It's because I have a bigger bed that fits my 2 layers of padding and my big fat pregnancy pillow that I have to sleep with. But most importantly, I'm so happy because I got a couch. So here's a fun story for you. I got this apartment and I was like, ooh, this is the perfect apartment for a couch because there is a blank wall. I have a projector. We all know my obsession with movies and TV. And that is like quite literally my love language and what I love most. If we were to designate quality time, you know, where it's like my love language is quality time. Mine specifically is quality time watching movies and TV with people. I love hosting people, having everybody come over, popping popcorn, getting people treats and snackies, and like just all cozying up, make sure everyone's comfortable, and watching a movie. That is what I love. I love it more than anything else. It makes me so, so happy. So I was like, okay, I can finally have a semblance of my life back. My old life, my Utah life, the life I had before I moved here. My life is great here. Don't get me wrong. It is. But it's different. It's different. And a huge part of what I love is not here, which is having all of my things in my room and inviting people over because I'm such a homebody, but I also need 12 bazillion pillows and things at all times because of my back issues. So it's hard for me to like get out. You know what? You get it. So anyways, I was like, I think I'm going to get a couch. I'm scrolling. Let me give you a timeline. This is Friday night, okay? It is 4 p.m. on a Friday. I decide, you know what? Maybe let me look on Facebook Marketplace for a couch. I'm scrolling on Facebook Marketplace. It is now 4:30, 4:40, okay? I find a couch. I message the owner of this couch, and I was like, I know your couch is selling for $250. But if I were to come and get this from you tomorrow morning, will you sell it to me for $100? And they said yes. I said, send me your bank details. And did I have any way of transporting this couch? No. Did I even know if it would fit through my freaking door? Absolutely not. No, guys, I'm just a girl, okay? That's not my job. The logistics are on other people, okay? I saw a couch. I wanted the couch. I bought the couch. That's the rest is in other people's hands. You know what I mean? And obviously it was going to work out. Like, God didn't bring me this far just to bring me this far. So I see this couch. It's like an amazing, beautiful L-shaped sectional. Guys, your jaw's gonna drop. I'm gonna put a picture on the Instagram of how great this couch is. Barely used. It was out on their patio, so it was like barely touched. I think they're moving or something because they were selling a ton of stuff. And anyways, I bought this couch. And then I text my bishop and I was like, hey, do you know anyone in the ward with a truck? Anyone in my congregation? And he texts back and he was like, actually, the church has a trailer that you can use. So he gives me the number of some, older gentleman in the ward that has a truck. I call him at 7 p.m. So this is like happening. I bought the couch, I think at like 5:30. I go down for dinner. And at dinner, at around like 6, I was like, okay, I'm going to need some muscle to move this couch. So let me get that first, and then we'll worry about transportation in a second, because like this was timeline-wise. So anyways, I'm in the dining hall, and then I went up to my friends, and I was like, hey guys, you guys are looking really strong tonight. And honestly, I have truly made such incredible friends here, and I just am surrounded by really, really great people. So please don't take anything that I say where I'm like, my life was so great before. Like, no, my life here is fantastic. I am surrounded by beautiful, amazing people. It's just different. It's just different than before. And sometimes that's just hard to deal with the difference, But this is one of those moments where I was like, wow, I am so incredibly blessed to just be surrounded by all of these people who know me, who I know, and who are so willing to help me. And so I got 2 of the guys to help me out. I didn't even have like time for them. I was just like, sometime in the morning, I'll give you more details later. And they were like, okay. So had 2 sets of muscle to move this couch. Then I get that text from the bishop. I call the number. It's 7 p.m. And the guy who picks up, he was at a soccer game, his grandson's soccer game. And so he's like, can I call you back? I said, yes. He calls me back at 9 p.m. So at 9 p.m., I am like, hey, so any chance that I can have your help in getting this couch? And he was like, yeah, what time are you thinking? And I was like, I don't know, 8 a.m.? Like really early? And he says yes. And so I go and I tell the boys at like 9:30, I was like, all right, here's the plan. We are going to hop in my car. We're going to drive over to the church building. We are going to meet with this man in the parking lot. He's going to hook up his car to the trailer. We're going to drive in his truck up to the person's house. It's only like 15 minutes away where this couch is. Thank goodness. It was amazing. And then we're going to bring it back, and then you guys are going to lift it and haul it to where I need it. And it was executed beautifully. I had couch in my apartment by 9 a.m. It was amazing. But there was a really funny moment when they go to fit it through the door and it like doesn't fit. And both of them are looking at me and they go, did you measure? I was like, no, of course not. Why would I measure? Guys, you're going to figure it out. Like, I believe in you. I have full faith in you right now. You can figure it out. Like, you guys have great spatial awareness. That's not my strength. So there was not 1 ounce of me that was like thinking this isn't going to fit through the door. There wasn't even an ounce of me that thought maybe this isn't going to fit in my apartment itself, because I had no concept. Guys, I'm spatially blind. I have no idea how big this couch is, if it's actually going to fit in this space. I had no idea, but I knew in my heart it was going to work. You know what I mean? Like, can't justify that to anybody. You want to see the numbers, you want to see the measurements, blah, blah, blah. I don't have them for you. All I have is a gut feeling and my desire for this couch. That's all I have. And as always, it was enough. Okay? I knew that they could get it through the door. And they did. Like, duh. Called it. There wasn't a doubt in my mind. Yeah, they brought it in. And then I was like, okay, this cost $100. What a freaking steal. When I tell people that this couch only cost me $100, they cannot believe. And I'm like, yeah, I know. So then I was like, you know what? I want to make sure that this thing is super clean. I'm going to have this for at least the next year. I want everyone to sit on it. So I'm going to look up a place, that sells maybe a rentable couch cleaner, because my old roommate, Bethany, shout out to Bethany. She's been on the pod before. She once rented like a upholstery cleaner for our apartment. So I knew it was a thing because of Bethany. So anyways, I Google, and yeah, sure enough, a store like not that far away, like 10 minutes away. And because I have a car, it's zero inconvenience for me. You can rent them for like $45 for 24 hours. So I hopped in my car, I went on over, and I said, hey, do you have one? Of course they did. They had one left. One left. Because God loves me. And I popped in my car, and then I came back home, and then I cleaned my couch, and it was just such a wonderful, wonderful Saturday. Oh, and I did 2 hours of pole dancing that day, too. Forgot to mention that. Yeah, it was just an ideal Saturday for me. I did no schoolwork, which, yikes, should have done that. But it was what it needed to be. I needed this couch. It looks so good. It's so clean. And I'm so happy about it. I'm so happy. And I've already done a couple movie nights. You already know I be watching so much stuff. Well, actually, I'm not watching that much stuff right now because I have a paper due on Monday. That's really stressing me out. But last night I did watch the newest episode of, what is it? Drum roll. We already know. The Summer I Turned Pretty. That's right. Had my friend Jackie over and we watched it together. And then next week, I think we're going to have actually a much bigger group watch it because, oh my gosh, the final 3 episodes. I'm having such a fun time. It is, of course, slightly killing me that we are still doing the weekly release, but, there is something to be said about all of the reels that I get to watch all week long and the build-up for each episode. Okay, I am really having a fun time with this entire series, and I cannot wait for the next episode. She broke off the wedding to Jeremiah. She saw Conrad in the airport. Oh my gosh, guys. She's going to Paris. It's going to be amazing. I'm so excited for it. And if that was spoilers, you know what? Hop on the bandwagon. Not my problem. Not my problem that you don't know what's going on in The Summer I Turned Pretty. Okay, girl? Catch up. Actually, don't catch up. Just wait for 3 more episodes and then binge it like I wish I could. Okay, I'm trying to think. Besides the couch, my new apartment, is there anything else? Any new announcements that I need to... I don't think so. I had another block week. 8 hours of class a day for 1 week. Very intense. It was on, gosh, what was it called? Hold on. My class was sexological practice, which that's focusing on sex therapists and the practical things. So, we would watch different segments of therapy sessions, like a 45-minute therapy session, specifically discussing different things related to sexology. So, like, for example, we could watch a case of a woman talking about how she's having G-triple-PD, which is pain during sex, and we would, watch that session, and then we're taking notes and creating a case report for it, so we can write out, like a therapist would, their actual documentation of potential diagnosis, kind of your treatment plan of which therapy you're gonna do, blah, blah, blah. We did a lot of role plays, talking through different scenarios. I mean, there's a lot that you can cover in 8 hours a day for a week with grown adults, so at a master's level. So it was really good. But once again, I'm so glad I'm in education and not in therapy. I find it interesting. I really do. I love listening to Dr. Jennifer Finlayson Fife's podcast, Room for Two. I subscribe to that. It's a paid for podcast, and you literally listen to her coaching therapy sessions for sex therapy. It's really incredible and so helpful, and it's great for me as an educator. But ultimately, I love the education side, you know? So to anyone that's like, why don't you become a sex therapist? I just don't think I would find the amount of joy in that I find in the education side. Because the thing with the therapy is, um, you let the clients talk for quite a bit. So, you kind of set it up like 3 sessions. They're disclosing a lot of things to you. And then you start really like figuring out where their pain points, what we're going to do to kind of help them overcome their current challenges, whether it's couples or whether it's a single person. But the thing is, you got to really dig deep into, family history and their what kind of like led them to this point and their current sexual scripts and all of that. And I just find that kind of boring. Not boring, but just like I would rather teach you about like what is a sexual script? What is that? Rather than what formed yours. I would rather if you were talking about like how you're having pain during sex, and so that's been occurring for years, and so it's made you have what you feel like is low desire, like you have no desire at all. I'd like to instead like teach a lesson on like the difference between desire and arousal, like how that actually works. And then also, what is G-triple-P-D? It was previously known as vaginismus and vulvodynia, but now it's all encompassed, umbrellaed under G-triple-P-D, which is gyno pelvic pain disorder. I'm missing a P. Oh well. You'd think I'd know because I'm literally writing a paper. I've read at this point like 15 different papers on it just for this one paper I'm writing, but whatever. We just call it G-triple-P-D, so I don't really think about the entire acronym all the time. It's something with your gynecological pelvic floor, okay? Anyways, it has to do with sexual dysfunction. Well, I would rather teach an entire lesson on like the different conditions, how they present themselves, the different treatment options, the pros and cons, help someone understand, if they're really, really nervous to go to a pelvic floor appointment. I would like to help soothe their fear in that, instead of seeing like, where is the root of this fear coming from? Although I think that is so important, it is so important, that's two sides of the coin. I just really like the side that talks rather than the side that listens. You know what I mean? Like, I like the side where I'm talking and you're listening rather than me listening and you talking. Obviously, there needs to be a little bit of collaboration, but truly, I love being able to just kind of like puzzle this together and be like, okay, you can go and talk about like the root of what caused this with your therapist. That's on them. That's their job. They find joy from that. Let me focus on the here and now, like where you're at right this second, not so much focusing on how we got here, but instead where we're at and where we can go. And then you can fix on the back end, all of your feelings about it. That's great. Like, that's why sex educators work so well with sex therapists. Like, you need both because there isn't time in sessions for therapists to really disclose like an entire lesson on G-triple-P-D, that is stuff. Plus, it doesn't quite fall under their exact practice either, like their area of expertise, whereas it is mine. So anyways, for anybody that wants to know the difference between sex therapy and sex education, I have a sweatshirt that says sex educator, not therapist. I talk, you listen. And that's the difference, truly. But this 8-hour block week that I had, or sorry, you get what I'm saying, 8 hours every day. So anyways, this block week that I had really, once again, just eased my mind in anyone who's ever told me, oh, you should be a therapist. No, thanks. No, you only say that because we have just had conversations, but you have never seen me teach, like actually teach. You've heard me, like, talk with you and educate you in that way. And so then, you felt very seen and heard, so you thought it was therapy. It's very different. It's very, very different. What I did was educate just now. The thing that you loved so much right now, that was education. I know it felt kind of like therapy because you really needed to talk about it, and like I was willing to have that conversation and like help you and like educate you. But therapy, actual sex therapy, looks very different, has a very different process, guidelines, theoretical frameworks. It is very, very different as far as how to execute that as a profession. Execute, that's the wrong word, but you get what I'm saying. Yeah. What it entails is different. And I love the sex education side. It's just so fun. It's so fulfilling. And I just love being able to word vomit information. And then, so we can like word vomit, then you can go home and digest that and talk it through with your therapist. And then you come back and then we'll talk it through a little bit of like what questions you have. And then we can just deep dive into the nitty gritty. It's so fun. It's so fun. Also, you want to know what else is fun? Is I'm reading a book right now, and it's called Rethinking Sex by Christine Emba. I am almost done with it. Let's see I'm on chapter 6 out of 9. Phenomenal. I actually was inspired to get this book because on the Soloist podcast, which we all know I'm a very big fan of, they had her on as a guest, and they were discussing her book, and I was just like, I have to read this book. Not only is it because it's in my field, but it just sounded really, really interesting. And you guys, I'm telling you, this book is phenomenal. It's so incredible. I'm going to wait until I finish it to like give my full review, and actually I am going to reach out to her and see if she'd be willing to come on my podcast. Not this one though. Drum roll, please. Wow, that was the weirdest drum roll ever. But everybody, guess what? I am going to be doing a sex ed podcast. I know. Add that to my list. When am I doing this? I don't know. Hopefully soon. I'm hoping soon. Really genuinely hoping soon. But give me a second, because right now my only focus is on my paper that's due on Monday, but I am in that entrepreneurship program right now, and so I'm trying to figure out a bunch of ways in which I can make money from, my area of expertise, which is always so awkward. It's so awkward. Like, I would just do this for free. I absolutely would. I want you to know I am so passionate about this subject and this topic. I would do it for free for the rest of my life. But unfortunately, I have found myself in a situation where I sold everything I own to invest every penny, and also all the pennies that I don't have, I'm in debt. That's what that means, to pursue this. So I do need pennies to come back to me in some way. In order to make it all worth it, as far as like the banks go. I would do it for free. I would. But the banks, unfortunately, don't take my enthusiasm and me telling them, no, you don't get it. This is actually like really important work that I'm doing. They don't take that as collateral. Or payment. So I'm going to be doing a Patreon podcast that is just sex ed content, especially because I've posted a few different frequently asked questions on my sex education Instagram, and they have popped off, and I've gotten tons of questions. And so I was like, you know what, I need a long format in order for me to answer these and to do what I love, which is run my mouth. And what I really love is running my mouth about this particular topic, anything dealing with sexuality and spirituality. That is my favorite thing ever. I mean, I know you all think it's movies, books, and TV, because I do really love that. But imagine if that's how I feel about those things, and I'm telling you that I love this more, the enthusiasm that I have is off the charts, okay? If you've never heard me talk about sex, first off, unlikely, because I can't, I don't think I can start a conversation with someone without it somehow leading there. well, it's quite easy as well right now because it's like, what do you do for work or not for work? What are you studying? And then boom, we're in the conversation. But yeah, I'm gonna do a sex ed podcast, and I want people like this author, like I think Christine, to be on it, and for us to discuss her research. And I have so many people that are like dream guests for me, so I'm going to vision board it up, everyone that I want on this podcast, and also what I'm wanting out of it. I would really like it to be helpful for singles. I want it to be helpful for married people. I don't know. I'm trying to still determine like who my audience is, if I should niche it down more or just kind of have it all available to everybody. That's what I'm currently debating, is should I pick an audience right now to like cater towards and then evolve it, or just have it all open. I don't know. That's what I'm trying to figure out. With this like entrepreneurship course is hopefully going to help me. But my sex ed stuff is going to be coming soon, because I really want to talk about this book. I want to talk about what I've learned, and I want to teach as well, because just having these conversations and the questions that I get asked and the conversations that I have, I'm like, more people need to be hearing, not just more people need to hear what I have to say. No, it's just more people need to be hearing about sex from anyone who is qualified, not just me. But hey, I'm happy to be a voice. Yeah, so get excited for that. I will let you all know here when that drops. I'm hoping I can do my first episode next week. So I'll let you know. And it is going to be, I know, cringe, a paid for podcast, but listen, as I just explained, why it has to be paid, okay? I need to get paid. I need to make some sort of money somewhere, okay? And at the end of the day, I'm betting on myself. Like, I know that I know my stuff. I know that when I speak to people about sexuality, that it changes their lives. And that's not because I am some special, amazing, gifted person. I really do believe that it's because this is my calling. This is what I love. It's what consumes all of the space in my brain, is how do I help people understand sexuality in a different way, in a better way? How do I help frame things? What analogies can I make to help people understand, make this a less fearful topic, less taboo, more exciting? And to link that to spirituality is just so fulfilling to me. It gives me light. It increases my capabilities and the way that my brain works, and it's so stimulating to me. So I do think that I have a lot to offer this space, and I have worked with so many clients where I have seen real results, and I've been able to just be this person in their life for, this moment, this blip of time, this tiny little thing where I'm able to take them from point A to point B, but it sets them off onto this trajectory that's so great for them. And I just love being able to be that person, just to have this moment with couples, with individuals, and to help them better understand themselves, their bodies, how it all works. And I'm excited to share all of that with you guys. So I will make sure that it is worth your money, worth your time. It's not my goal to just produce things that aren't worth listening to, that aren't actually helpful, especially in this particular space. My goal is to help people. So I will be very conscious, and am very conscious of what content I'll be creating for my sex ed podcast. But there you go. There's me self-promoting, pitching. I clearly need to get better at it. It's just money. It's so uncomfy sometimes. But I gotta do what I preach, which is, girl, own up to what you're good at. And it's okay to want to get paid for things that you're good at. So that's what I'm telling myself, the little pep talk I'm giving myself. And my friend Nikki is giving it to me all the time. Not myself. For anybody that doesn't know, I do have a friend named Nikki. She was also on the podcast. Okay, I am referring to her when I'm saying Nikki. She's my daily cheerleader. I message her all the time and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm doubting myself. Please, please tell me you believe in me. And she always comes through. She just, the Delulus, you think I'm the leader? Nah, Nikki's the leader of the Delulus, okay? She is so great at helping me tap into my delusion of I can do anything because I can, but sometimes you just have to lean into the delusion to make it reality. You get me. Okay, well, in our last little bit here, while I prepare for dinner and then for my 2.5-hour class, forensic sexology, the link between sexual crimes and the field of sexology. Oh, so great. Again, I'm going to be discussing my classes on my sex ed podcast. I'm going to talk about all the different elements, like what is sexology? What is the study? What kind of things am I learning in my classes? What kind of papers am I writing? What kind of studies are done? These are things that are going to be on that podcast. So little teaser for you, forensic sexology is so fascinating. We had a guest speaker last week that worked with the prisoners, the ones that committed the most heinous sexual crimes. And they came and spoke to our class, and it was just mind-blowing. So fascinating understanding, what gets people to that point, why sex crimes are such why are they seen as such terrible criminal behavior, why it's a different class of a criminal act versus just, if someone stole your phone versus stealing your innocence. Like, those are two different things, you know what I mean? Like, the impact of sexual crimes is so much greater than other crimes. So anyways, we discuss that, why that is, the connection between criminology and looking at the criminal themselves versus what the law says and how the law defines things. And it's very fascinating, but giving away too much. But yeah, tonight we have 2 guest speakers that work with sexual assault victims. One is a criminal lawyer and then one is a social worker, and they both work for the government. So gonna be fascinating. I'm very excited. It's my favorite class. But yeah, let's, in the last 20 minutes, talk about what I have watched, because I have watched a couple things. You already know, I need to discuss the Kpop Demon Hunters. Okay. Ooh, my gosh, let me settle in for this. Of course I watched it. I will say, as I'm sure many of you thought, why would I watch something like that? When you heard the name, Kpop Demon Hunters, I was like, yeah, not for me. No thanks. There was an entire group that was going to watch this movie, and they said, Nikki, do you want to come watch a movie? And then, of course, I asked which one, and they said, Kpop Demon Hunters, and I said, nah, I'm good. I watched the trailer, said, nah, I'm good. But then, every single one of them was like, that movie was so good. And then I kept hearing about it, and people were chatting about it, and then my brother texts me and says, tell me you've seen Kpop Demon Hunters. And I was like, my gosh, everyone is on this train right now. You know what? Why don't I hop on, see what it's all about, see where it drops me off. Guys, do you want to know what has been on my playlist for the last 3 weeks that has completely messed up my Spotify Wrapped? Because you want to know what my probably number 1 song is going to be at the end of this year? It's going to be Golden by the Huntrix. Okay, Kpop Demon Hunters has bangers in that movie. Absolute certified bops. It was such good music in that. Here's my favorite songs. Let me look up my specific playlist that I created with just the songs so I could listen to them on repeat with just my favorite ones. It is, at the top, of course, we have Golden. Then we have What It Sounds Like, Your Idol, Takedown, and Free. if we have to decide, if I have to pick my top 3, Golden, What It Sounds Like, and Free are going to be my favorites. But the Your Idol song, ooh, the rap part in that, delightful. So fun. And Takedown is just a really good time. The Soda Pop one didn't resonate with me as good as it did with others. As good as well? Whatever. Didn't love that one as much. But, oh my gosh. To have that many songs coming out of a movie, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 songs that I loved, not just liked, loved, that's an accomplishment in and of itself. And keep that in mind when I tell you I didn't like the movie. Okay, I did love the music. I had an entire 45-minute discussion with that huge group that loved it and watched it. And we really dissected, after I watched it a few weeks later, what maybe I didn't like about it. And a lot of them actually agreed with me. So I felt very validated. Here was my biggest issue, is I felt like we were going kind of all over the place with the demon analogy. It was so good. I saw the vision, but we didn't execute it well, I don't think. Because, okay, let's just take it from this one angle. You're saying that the demons, they're not actually what you think. And we're seeing that through the guy main character, that he's actually a redeemable person. And Remy, I think that's her name, is it Remy? I don't remember. Anyways, the girl with the purple hair, she starts seeing maybe there's more to them, which, great, love that. Stick with that. I think it's great. But then in the end, you don't learn anything about any of the other band members, and they still end up killing all of the demons. So, I feel like we didn't fully execute that angle on it. Then we have her being part demon, or at least it shows that she has the markings. And I really liked that. And, kind of this self-acceptance of why won't you love all of me? And I really loved that angle. But once again, I don't feel like they fully executed that. And then you have the fact that they all started listening to the demons, the other band members and things, the demons being these negative thoughts that then consume them and make them think that they are worth less than they are, and their souls are being taken by the grand demon thing, the entity, I don't know, that's mind numbing them and claiming them. But I also feel like we didn't drive that point home. There was just no point that was completely driven home. So I felt the whole time I was thinking, are they meaning this? Is this symbolizing this? Is this supposed to mean this? But none of it was clear for me. And I'm okay if you want to leave things open to interpretation, because I love an analogy. But you need to pick one direction to follow and then let me find other symbolism in the other directions that it could go. You know what I mean? Whereas we just didn't choose one route. I feel like we chose 5 routes and then only got halfway with each of them, rather than sticking to a road and having the analogy find its thread through the entire thing. So I don't know. It just kind of confused me from an entertainment standpoint of what was the point of that movie. I feel like we were kind of shaping it around the songs rather than the songs adding to the plot. So that one was a bit tricky for me. Yeah, I just didn't love, the animation was fun. It was fun, but it could have been longer as well. I heard that it was originally 3 hours, but then they cut it down to 90 minutes. So I think I felt that. I think that's what I was feeling, was that this could have been more detailed, but it wasn't. So maybe that's where I was struggling. But I didn't really like the movie just as a whole. It was okay, I guess. But the songs and the overall message I did like. I wanted it to be more with the overall message. Drive it home. There's nothing wrong with really driving a message home, especially in a film that you're saying is for children. Yeah, put that nail in the coffin, babe. Pound it in. Let me see what the point is. I'm totally fine with that. I feel like Moana 1 is a good example of that, where like the point was just like really driven home with each song, with the storyline. It was well executed. Um, it was just really well thought out. And that's kind of what I want in those types of movies. Just, yeah, beat a dead horse. Why not? In these animated films, it's fine. When it's a different type of film, yeah, no, you don't need it. You can leave more up to interpretation and stuff. But I feel like this film in particular would have benefited from just being a little bit more direct in where it was going and what it was trying to mean as far as the deepness of the message. You feel me? But you know what? I will definitely watch it again when I have kids, and I'd be listening to those songs. You bet your everything you own. You bet your butt. I'm listening to Golden. I'm going up, up, up. It's our moment. You know, together we're glowing. It's gonna be golden. So good. And I have shown those songs to multiple of my friends. I was like, you don't even need to watch the movie. Just add these songs to your playlist. Like, that's what you need. Just listen to these songs. Skip the movie. Okay, enough rambling. The score I am going to give it, my rating of Kpop Demon Hunters personal, I'm going to give it a 6.6. I'm going to give it a 6. Public? 8. Easy 8. I also watched The Materialists, and actually, I really, really enjoyed it. I know, controversial. I actually want to know what it got on IMDb, because a lot of people that I have heard from did not like this movie. They thought it was stupid, they thought it was dumb, they thought all sorts of things, and I really liked it. I did. But, okay, 6.4 out of 10. Actually, not bad. Not bad. Got Dakota Johnson, Chris Evans, Pedro Pascal. Okay. Here's why I liked it. I liked that it was, one, modern. It felt like a fresh idea. And I do like it when we can execute film, television, all of that, where it doesn't just feel like something I've always watched or that just feels recycled. This felt fresh. It did. I also liked that it was not poking fun, but in a way it was almost satirical in its representation of the modern dating scene. I did kind of like that it makes you a bit uncomfortable, that they're, bringing to light all of these different issues. So for those that haven't seen it, here's the plot. You have Dakota Johnson. Johnson? Yeah. Why am I second guessing every word that I'm saying today? I don't know. She plays a girl named Lucy. And Lucy works for a dating agency. A matchmaking agency, actually, I should say. Like this high-end matchmaking agency. And she, at the beginning of the movie, she goes to the wedding of one of the girls that she's match made. She set them up. And she's had, I forget at the beginning of the movie, it was like 5 weddings or something. So she's like had a lot of people get married from her services. And at this wedding, she meets Pedro Pascal. He is the brother of the groom. And Pedro is very attractive, smart, and super rich. And also at this wedding, as a caterer, is Chris Evans, who is her ex. They were together for, I think it was like 5 years or something. And you get to kind of see the evolution of their relationship and what led to their breakup. But she clearly still has feelings there for him. Well, she starts dating Pedro Pascal. And there really isn't a lot of emotion in their dating. It's very practical. And that's really her character, is this very dry, non-feeling, kind of non-emotional person that sees everything very analytical, like through just this lens of numbers. You know, you have similar socioeconomical backgrounds, so you're probably more compatible than so and so and them and blah blah blah. So her big thing is she doesn't want to be poor, which is why she actually broke up with Chris Evans, because although she loved him and he loved her, their lifestyle was not conducive for the life that she wanted. It shows a scene when they were together, her and Chris, where they were driving around trying to find parking for their anniversary because she had booked a restaurant and he wasn't willing to pay the like $25 parking fee because they didn't have the money for it. So he was like driving around everywhere to look for cheaper parking, and she's like, we're gonna miss our reservation, and if we miss our reservation, then we're gonna have to pay the like missed reservation fee. And so then they start arguing about that because he's like, how stupid is it that we have to pay if we miss our appointment or, you know, miss our reservation. And then anyway, she ends up getting out of the car and being like, I can't do this. I love you, but I hate being poor. And I just felt like there was so much rawness and authenticity in that conversation. And I think that it's real. I think that it's highlighting a very, very real thing. That you can really love someone, but yeah, financial issues and differences in financial priorities are going to affect a relationship. They are. As much as you love that person, they are. They are going to affect it. And for her, this really mattered to her, that she didn't like the lifestyle that they were living and the fact that it wasn't going to change because of his career, because of everything. And when she's with Pedro, he's super uber rich, and so she doesn't have to worry about that, but she doesn't really love him, but she's comfortable, hence the title materialist, because she was more attracted and wanted the materialist side of Pedro rather than the actual love. Ultimately though, and I think this is why a lot of people were very upset by the movie, she does break up with Pedro, this millionaire, who's very kind and great, and she goes with Chris, who is this broke actor who's living in this just terrible apartment. He seems like a really good guy that just hasn't really figured his life out yet, which is unfortunate because he's like 40. But they love each other, they really do. But what I don't like about it, but is also why I liked it, is the fact that they did end up together. Because I can't tell you how realistic that felt. That felt so realistic that you have these two people that really nothing has changed. And that's the conflict of the whole movie. And she's like, nothing has changed. We can't be together because I would have the same issues now that I had before because nothing about our financial situation has changed. Nothing about you has changed. And ultimately then they decide to just be together anyways. And isn't that just human nature? That you're like, you play out this whole thing, this 5-year relationship, seeing how it doesn't work, even though you want it to, but ultimately, like, it doesn't provide the things that you need, and you're not willing to compromise those needs. Like, for her, they are non-negotiable, but yet she will still choose him and his inability to complete those needs. I just thought it was so realistic. I was like, yeah, that's exactly what happens. Is because you're like, well, I do love them. And you know what? Love can conquer all, right? You say that in the moment. And I think that there is a slight truth to that. But I think reality does come crashing down. And I think it will. I don't think that if, we were to continued this movie on 5 years from that point, that many things would have changed. I really don't. And that's what I liked about it. I liked that it felt real, that people just we love the things that we're familiar with. And also, I do like that she didn't end up with Pedro, because I don't think that that would have been the solution either, was ending up with someone who is rich and fulfills that need that she has, but there's no real love there. There's no real passion. Yeah, I think that that was a good point that they were making, that yes, you can have your material things, but love and relationships and a life worth living is worth more than just the materialistic things. But the grand thing that I loved most about this movie was the side plot that kind of becomes one of the main plots, which is Lucy has this client who she sets up on a date with this guy. She's really excited about it. You know, this girl, this poor woman, she's great, but she's very average. Like, it's so brutally honest, where this woman, she doesn't have any particular great qualities. She's just like average in everything, which she's a great person, but that's not conducive for dating. Not in 2025. It's not. And I loved that they pointed that out. Like, yes, that is what it is like to be single in 2025. Like, I don't know. It just felt very like, yup, that's true. You can deny it all you want, but I think this movie really did a great job depicting the realities of dating right now. I mean, I don't think people want to admit that. I think that maybe that's why people had such a problem with it. I don't know. I've talked to quite a few people and they said that it didn't feel realistic to them. And I'm like, well, you're also in a relationship, so I don't know. I didn't talk to anyone who was single, like, and that watched this. It seemed like everyone I had talked to about it, they were all in relationships. So I don't know. I would love to know more single people's thoughts and why you had a problem with it. I'm going to have to go and read the reviews of why people didn't like it. But I think it was satire in a lot of ways. I think that it was extreme in a lot of ways to prove a point. And I really like the points that they proved. Well, anyways, Lucy has this client who she sets up on this date, and she calls the guy afterwards to check in, and it went really well, and he's like, yeah, I would love to go out with her again. And then she calls Lucy. She calls the client, and she doesn't answer and stuff, and she finds out that she was sexually assaulted. That she set her up with this man who sexually assaulted her. And I loved everything about the depiction of that, and like her heartbreak and her distress over how she could have done this, and she set him up. He was a good guy. Like, we didn't see this coming. And then like the anger from the person that was sexually assaulted was very valid. And like, I don't know, maybe it's because of my sexological background. Like, this is quite literally what I am taking a class on, forensic sexology. I have it in 30 minutes. This exact scenario is what we discuss in this class, is the likelihood of someone committing a sexual assault. And, you know, the predictors of that, but also why you're not able to always predict it. Why it happens, how it happens, the repercussions of that, the way that it affects people, the way that it affects the victim survivors, the way that it affects those that, you know, in this scenario, that set them up. And I really, just from my field of study, I really liked that they showed this, because I think I would have been really disappointed had you had a show showing matchmaking and you don't touch on the very real possibility and risk that you take in 2025 in dating of having that happen. And it's terrible. And we need to change. We have to change this. And the only way that it will change is to say and show that this happens. This happens, and it's not okay. It's not okay. And it's from these guys that present themselves as good guys. Like, it's not just some grummy person on the street. No, it's happening all around 1 in 4 women. Okay, so I think in any show that you're showing this, like dating and things, I think it should be touched on. And I thought that they did it in a really good way. I mean, obviously, they could have gone more into depth and stuff, but that wasn't necessarily the complete point of the show. But I was glad that they touched on it in a pretty big way. So, yeah, I think that was the other reason that I really liked it, is they showed the terrible, horrible side that comes with dating, and I hate that it comes with dating. And I think that if we talk about that more, the conversations that we can have, that change can be brought about. Ultimately, though, let me just end on this. If there's one thing that I have learned in my studies so far, especially in this forensic sexology class, is if we want real change to happen and occur when it comes to sexual assault and more extreme behaviors, I don't really necessarily want to mark this episode as super explicit, so we won't get into all of the other things. We'll just leave it at that. If we want real change to happen, it has to come from men not accepting the behavior from other men. Because women all day can scream, can shout from the rooftops, can get a freaking megaphone, can chant and rally and parade and have signs and movements and all of that. And we should. But what will truly bring about fundamental change, systemic change in culture, in society, it is if a group of men, when they're hanging out with their boys, and one of the boys say something derogatory about women, if the rest of them were to turn and say, nah, man, we don't talk about women like that here. And then if the guy continued and, tried to deflect, come on, guys, come on. Are you kidding me? You didn't see her ass? And if all of the guys in that group said, nah, man, actually, you can go, and they meant that, and then the guy left, do you know what kind of changes that would bring about in society? Do you even, you don't get it until you see the studies, until you see the impact. Men care about men's opinion, especially men who hate women. Having more women tell them that they need to go to therapy, that's actually not a solution. It's not. Because they're going to manipulate, they're going to do these things. No. You want to know what would change? What would actually bring about change? It's if men decide it's their problem to change it. If they decide that it is their issue, that they as men are not going to accept this behavior anymore, because women, we stopped accepting it a long time ago, okay? Because it's unacceptable. But because men rule our society, it will not change until the men who are all around, these men in power, shame them, really. But, I mean, there's different ways to put that. But, put shortly and simply, if they are being told no by other men, and they are being shut down every single time that they are going and trying to, have, a boys moment and, be misogynistic, and no man around them is gonna, collude with them on that, that will actually bring about change. And that's the truth. That's what the data shows. Men care about men's opinion. They don't care about women's opinions. So, again, we could be screaming, but a guy next to him that goes, yeah, bro, I'm actually not going to hang out with you because you said this thing about your wife the other day, and I can't hang out with a guy that says stuff like that about his wife. You should respect your wife. She's a great person. I've met her, but ultimately, you need to respect her because, and then they go off on, it could be something as simple as that. It could be something so simple. Or someone with daughters, when you're, young, imagine a group of like 17-year-old boys, and one of them is talking about, like, they come down to the lunch table and they're like, guys, you're never gonna believe I railed Sophie last night. And all the guys there sit in silence and they go, dude, that's really not cool. Why are you talking about her like that? Like, she's someone's daughter, dude. She's Jake's sister. Like, well, did she have a good time? Did you care about her experience? I mean, I didn't really hear anything in that about how she felt about it. Did you talk to her? Like, was she consenting? Imagine a world in which that was the conversation 17-year-old boys were having. And you're telling me it wouldn't change the world? Yeah. It would. It absolutely would. Okay. You know what? I think I'm good. I need to go for dinner and to class. So thank you for joining me for this podcast. This is all over the place, as it, always is. And I love you all for being here. Thank you so much. Have a great week. As always, these have been my thoughts on life, because this is life according to Nikki.